For me, at least, passages are a great chance for 8th graders to kind of get a sense for future presentations that we may give. Because whenever you put like a lot of time and effort into something that's education or research related, you're probably going to have to give a presentation or even a defense at the end of it. So, you know, in my opinion, it's a great chance to kind of give us a feel for that and what it's going to be like in the future. I'd like to start my presentation off by reading you my personal reflection letter. So can you read that? And I'll be reading out loud too.
Yeah.
Right now, if I look at myself as a person, and I look at myself as a person 3 or 4 years ago, I'm almost unrecognizable compared to who I was. My interests and goals have changed a lot. When I first came to this school, my list of interests would have been pretty short. My ideas and opinions about what I want my life to look and feel like have only really begun to take shape in the last couple of years. One of my goals in this life is to become a skilled photographer. I want to take photos that take people's breath away or even inspire them to go into the outdoors and find places that are just as beautiful so they can see it for themselves. Reflecting upon my years at this school, I realize that it has been my second home throughout what have been instrumental years of my life. I'm confident that if I would have gone to another school from 3rd to 8th grade, I would be a very different person than I am now. I'm a far more calm, happy, and reflective person, and one of the main reasons for this is the students and teachers at Lewis Prairie School. It's my opinion that what I've done does not shape the entirety of who I am, but rather who I surround myself with. And I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by the most diverse, caring, and empathetic, free-spirited people that I have ever been around in my entire life. One of those people is Greg Pierce. He's been an extremely positive influence on my life, especially in the past year. For one, he introduced me to climbing, and that has also had a huge positive impact on my life. One of the challenges that I know I've overcome in the past 3 or 4 years is that I used to be a far more angry and less reflective person. In the past 4 years, I feel like I've really overcome that anger. I know that I can attribute that lack of anger to my level of physical activity in the form of climbing, skiing, photography, and a love for the outdoors. The outdoors and this school has really taught me a lot about myself and the world around me. These past 4 years, and every aspect of them, has made me a better person today. The first piece I'd like to share is my 8th grade Warren Poetry Expedition final product. And this was a spoken word piece. This piece of work proves that I mastered the learning target because I put myself in the shoes of an Israeli bus driver who was constantly in fear for his life and well-being, and I performed this spoken word poem in front of an audience. I knew very little or nothing about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict before this expedition. In order to gain perspective, we read newspaper articles and books, and we watched films to learn more about the conflict. The Israelis are attempting to push the Palestinians out by bulldozing their villages and attacking people with military-grade weapons and tanks. The only way the Palestinians can revolt is with suicide bombings and by throwing rocks. This piece is compelling because I was able to effectively describe how the driver would hear about these bombings that are going on and how he was always thinking, wow, that could be me tomorrow, or 1 week from now, or a year from now. I tried to put into words the constant paranoia that someone in that position must feel and how feeling that every day would be constantly degrading him mentally and physically. Overall, I was proud of the delivery of this compelling spoken word. The next piece I'd like to share is the final product from the 8th grade Finding Home expedition. And this was in the form of a letter to the editor. This piece of work demonstrates that I can put together a well-organized, persuasive letter that includes evidence and lists counterpoints and why they may be unjustified. This piece of work is my letter to the editor that was published in the Daily News. I made a case for why we should welcome refugees into the United States. I talked about how they stimulate economies, diversify communities, and have a lower crime rate than native-born citizens. Furthermore, I was just coming out of a 2-month period where I had been severely concussed, and this piece, unlike my previous work during that period, was in fact well-organized, compelling, and featured in the newspaper. The next piece I'd like to share is a math assessment from fall trimester of 8th grade. I showed understanding for all the learning targets, but this is just an example of one of them. This piece of work is a math assessment that has multiple learning targets. It proves that I met the learning target of understanding basic rigid motions. For example, translating an object along a line. In problem 1, I translated the triangle along the line AB. I had to measure the line AB and then create new points that were the same distance and parallel to that line. This work shows my understanding for basic rigid motions such as translation, but the test as a whole shows my understanding for all the learning targets. And then the final two pieces I'd like to show, I'll pass around. Here's the first one.
I'll just pass them since I've seen
And here's the second one.
Excuse me, does somebody own a gold station wagon parked on the other side over there?
Gold
No.
station wagon?
Yeah,
You mean minivan?
it might be a minivan, gold,
Beige?
I don't know, they said
What's the
gold.
problem?
The emergency lights are flashing. Battery's gonna go dead.
Oh,
Okay.
Thank you.
For this section of my passage portfolio, I decided to include two pieces of work from the Blackfish Effect expedition. The first piece has a very powerful message behind it. The first piece is a Chinook salmon with the Snake River running through it. That's that one. More specifically, this section of the Snake River that has the Ice Harbor, Lower Monumental, Little Goose, and the Lower Granite Dam. This piece shows not only the four dams splitting the river apart, it also shows the dams beginning to split the salmon apart. I wanted to show how harmful these dams are to wild salmon populations in the simplest way I could, and I feel like I did that. My second piece, which is that one, let's see here. My second piece that I'm including shows a salmon drawn in traditional form line. Salmon are very important to many people and to killer whales. That is what I wanted to portray with this piece. I felt that form line was the best way to do that. Both these pieces show that I can demonstrate craftsmanship to produce high-quality art pieces that are emotionally charged and compelling. And with that, I'd like to finish off this presentation by reading my college readiness reflection letter. I have a couple of ideas of what I want to do with my life, but many of them are still just small parts of ideas, dreams, or faint aspirations. I do have many goals, not necessarily academic or career related, but I have goals nonetheless. I want to be able to climb 513 routes, I want to have my photographs published in a popular magazine, and I want to summit peaks that are more than 15,000 feet tall. I have a couple of ways that I can think of for reaching or attaining these goals. I do want to go to college, and I'm going to give 110% to my classes and work in high school, so that I can save as much money as I can in college. I can see myself going to college for any number of things, whether it be marine biology, forest ecology, photography, writing, or something else. I know that if I go to college, it will greatly expand my job opportunities in this distant future. I also want to learn as much as I can about being safe in the backcountry. I enjoy photography, and I can see making money from that. Photography is more of a career option because it is something that I can get paid for doing, whether it's action, adventure, landscape, or wedding photography. I enjoy it, and I enjoy learning about it. If I know anything at all, it's that I don't want to be stuck doing a job that I don't enjoy, so I will do everything that I can to set myself up to have a wide range of options. I know how it feels to be sad, and I know how it feels to be so happy that it fills up my whole body with the feeling so indescribable and elusive that I've only felt it twice in the past season. It's not a feeling that comes with large sums of money or even with being excited for a trip or upcoming events. I think it comes only from being exactly where I want to be while being surrounded by people who I love to be around. I can't try to create this feeling, just be present and happy wherever I am. I want to at least feel this way more often in the future. This is why I'm going to strive for the best possible career for me instead of settling for a job. And that concludes my passage presentation. Questions?
well, Noah, that was superb.
Thank you.
I'm really impressed with a number of aspects. I enjoyed the presentation of the fish showing the dams. I've given up any hope that those will go away in my lifetime, but I hope they do in yours. I have a mundane question to start with.
Okay.
I've written some letters to the editor, and the problem that generally plagues me is the word limit. Did you have any struggles with? I guess you were allowed 300 words for the Daily News, is that right?
Yeah. That was one of the criteria, and actually it was kind of on the contrary. I was having trouble meeting that because, I was coming out of my concussed period and it was kind of hard to get work done at that time.
Okay, so you didn't have any trouble with the limits?
No, I think it was actually perfect.
I've seen a great, I don't know if you saw the movie, The River Runs Through It, but where the father keeps making his son write shorter.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great exercise, by the way. You can
Mm-hmm.
learn to be much more efficient, but apparently, yeah, you didn't struggle with that. Your math is quite sophisticated at this point. Have you been able to work at your own rate, or is there a class that had the kinds of things you were showing in your
Yeah,
project?
so this year was structured a little bit differently math class-wise because we not only had our teacher, Mr. Ellsworth, teaching us, but we also had Dr. Yop and, I can't remember his last name, but Joe teaching us. And that was a really rigorous learning process, but I feel like everybody was moving at a fast pace. You couldn't really go at your own pace, but they definitely made it so that you understood everything thoroughly before we moved on to the next thing. And I feel like I have a good, baseline of knowledge at the very least to move into high school level math.
And one last question, in terms of affording college, are you anticipating that you will have to hold down a job during high school to
Yeah.
try to save this money, or
Well,
are you going
actually-
to work towards scholarships, or?
I actually already have a job, and I'll be working at a new place next fall, so I do anticipate doing that, but I also anticipate trying to get the best grades possible so I can save money scholarship-wise.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Whose idea was it for the tie?
Well, mine actually.
That's nice, thank you. Talk a little bit more about habits of scholarship, how you understand that concept.
Well, I think there's learning targets and then there's habits of scholarship, and I feel like learning targets are more of a specific thing that pertains to a specific goal, but habits of scholarship, in the simplest way that I could put it is habit, I think that at this school, they try to implement these all the way up through kindergarten is where we start, to where we can really have these good habits going into high school and even college after that. So I feel like I've done a fair job at, conforming to these habits. But I do appreciate them.
Is there one that you like the best, that resonates with you?
No, I actually enjoy all of them because, every single one has a different angle that it approaches your life in school and outside of school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What did you get the most from this process?
Which part? The passage presentation?
Passage process, yeah.
Well, I find myself reflecting often on things I may do outside of school or my friendships, but I don't reflect all that often on my academic life. So I think that this was a great chance to kind of look back on the past 3 or 4 years and think, okay, this is what I've done so far, and then also kind of think into the future, like, where do I want to go with this? So I feel like it's kind of centered me almost in my thinking about what I want to do academically.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Noah, what's your goal for the summer?
Well, just take good photos and travel a lot. I have a pretty full schedule so far.
Can you expand that?
Yeah, so I'm leaving this Friday to go to Wyoming and climb in, what's it called, the Bighorns. And then I'll get back on the 13th, and I'm leaving on the 23rd to go to South Dakota, then climb the Devil's Tower, and then climb the Grand Teton, and then go from there to Alaska.
Great. And academically, you're going to do what?
Well, I'm going to write a lot. I do enjoy reflecting on, good experiences, and I try to put it like she said, like try to write shorter and shorter to make it so that I can pack as much, authenticity almost into a small piece of writing. So that's mainly what I do during the summer.
Okay. Thank you.
Where do you think you'd like to go to college? Do you have a thought?
Not yet. I'd like to go, UI has an amazing outdoor program, and that's what really draws me to UI. So I think, and it's also has kind of have that home field advantage because I know this place well.
Mhm.
So probably UI.
Good choice.
Thank you.
Yes, good scholarships. And how many dual credit courses are you going to be taking next year, or the following year?
I don't know yet.
I would encourage you to do that.
Yeah.
Great advantage. embarrass mom and dad a question.
Sure.
Just don't score their answers.
Just don't use a rubric, please.